Hi everyone! Today we'll create an online voting application with SignalR for real-time communication and Chart.js to display dynamic chats in Angular. Let's get started. I created a web API on Visual Studio. To enable SignalR, we'll install a NuGet package. So open the command prompt and we'll install this Microsoft ASP.NET Core.SignalR package. Go to the program.js file and we'll add the SignalR services. We'll configure COS to allow the Angular application to communicate with this SignalR application. So call builder.services that add CORS. So from the builder, we'll create a default policy. And from the policy, we'll allow any method, allow any header, and we'll specify the origin, which in this case will be the Angular application URL, which by default will be HTTP localhost and the default port. And here it's important to allow the credentials in order for SignalR to work with WebSockets. And from the application, we'll add the middleware from COS. The next step is to create a SignalR hub to send data to all connected clients in real time. So let's open the Solution Explorer and we'll create a new item, which will be a class. In this case, will be a chat hub. So from this hub, we'll inherit from the corresponding class and we'll create a method to push data to all connected clients. So create a new asynchronous method to send data. And this will be an online voting system in real time. So we'll create a candidate class, add a new class called candidate. We'll send a list of candidates with two properties, the name and the number of votes. Go back and we'll send this list of candidates through this SignalR hub. So we'll call clients that all the clients will send asynchronously the candidates. We need to define the method name, which will be in this case receive data and the data itself. Go back to the program.js and register the chat hub. So from the application, we'll call map hub of the type, which will be chat hub. And this is important to create the WebSocket endpoint. So we'll define the endpoint, which in this case will be chat hub. Now we'll create a new class to generate data over time in real time. So create a new class called data generator service. And this will be a background service. Implement the abstract class. And from this method, we'll send real-time data. We'll update the votes from a candidate every second. So in this class, we'll inject the iHub contents of the chat hub type, which will be our hub. Okay. We'll create a read-only field and we'll initialize the candidates. I will add this list of candidates for candidates with initial votes, and we'll also add a read-only property to create random data. We'll use this random class. And now from this execute async method, we'll send data over time. While the stopping token is not canceled, we'll send data every second. So we'll select a candidate, create a new variable called candidate index. And from the random property, we'll use the next function to select an index based on the candidates that count. And then we'll generate a number of votes randomly. We'll use the same random object called nets. We'll get the random votes from this range. And then we'll just simply call hub that clients that all and send asynchronously. So we'll add the await keyword and the async keyword. and we'll define the method name. So go to the chat hub, we'll copy the same method name and we'll send the candidates. And don't forget to update the votes for the candidate. Select candidates in the index and we'll increase the votes. Go back to the program.js file and we'll register this background service called build.services.add hosted service, which in this case is the data generator service. And that's it. Our SignalR application is configured. Now go to VS Code and create the Angular application. Open a command prompt and we'll run this command to create a new Angular app. We'll inline styles, skip tests, and select the defaults for simplicity. After running this command, open the containing folder. So from this application, we have the TypeScript and HTML main files. We'll create an Angular SignalR service to establish the communication with the SignalR hub. So navigate to the app folder and we'll generate a new service called SignalR service. Execute. Navigate to this a new file. We'll establish the communication with SignalR. Open the command prompt and we'll also need to install a library. So run npm i Microsoft/SignalR. Execute. That's it, and we need to import everything from this library. SignalR, run Microsoft.SignalR. So we'll add a variable that holds a reference or that represents the Signal Hub connection. So add a new private variable called hub connection of type SignalR.hub connection. And we'll add a public method to start the connection with the hub. So add this start method and then we'll initialize the hub connection. We'll create a new SignalR, the hub connection builder. From this builder, we'll define the URL of our SignalR hub. So the URL is the URL of the application and the endpoint. So I will go to the launch settings.json file and copy the application URL. And don't forget to copy the endpoint that we defined in the program.js file. Go back and finally call the build function. So we configure the hub connection. Now start the hub connection. This returns a promise. So we'll print by a console that the SignalR connection is established. And also we'll handle errors with the catch function that returns an error object. That's it. The hub connection is started, the connection with the SignalR hub. And finally, we'll listen for events from the method name that we define in the hub to receive data from the connected client. So call hub connection and invoke the on function. For this method, we need the method name, which is defined in chat hub, is receive data. And then we have a lambda function with the data itself. So we have the data, the list of candidates at real time every second. So I forgot in the data generator service to add a delay of 1 second to emit data every second. Okay, now go back to VS Code. We'll use an RxJS subject to emit data over time. So declare a new property as public called data, which will be a subject, and we'll initialize this subject of type candidate. We'll create this interface. So open the command prompt and we'll generate a new interface called candidate. Navigate to this interface and add the two properties, the name and the votes. Go back, and this is an array of candidates. Import the candidate interface. So when we receive the data from the SignalR hub, we'll emit a new value to this subject, so called data.nets. and pass the data that we received from the chat hub. So now we'll install Chart.js to display chats in the Angular application. Let's save it and go to the official documentation. This is the GitHub repository for this library ng2charts, which is the library that we need to display chats for Angular based on the Chart.js library. Scroll down and we have the installation process. The first command we'll run is this one to install ng2charts. Go back to VS Code and run this command. Go back and we also need to install Chart.js. Execute. Then we'll add this directive in the standalone component. Go to the main TypeScript file and we'll remove this route outlet. We'll add this base chat directive. And finally, we need to provide the chats in the main add file. Copy this part, go to the main config file and provide the section. Add this line, add all the missing imports. And from the template, we'll remove all the sample code. Go back and scroll down a little bit. So we'll use this directive to display a chat. We need to define the type, the options, and the data. We have 8 types of chat, so we'll display a bar chat initially. Copy this command and paste it in the HTML. We'll define the data in the options. We'll go to the Chart.js official documentation. From the Get and Status section, we'll scroll down. To create a chat, we'll copy this data and these options. So let me copy this information, these objects. Go back to VS Code, and from the TypeScript file, we'll define this data and options. We'll just display 4 candidates, so I will select 4 elements for the labels, and for the data, I will select the first 4 elements. I will copy some background colors for each data element. That's it, we have background colors. Save it and let's bind this data and options properties in the HTML attributes for this directive. So add the data and the options. Save it, open a command prompt, clear the console, and we'll set the application to run the application locally. Navigate to the Angular application and look that we have this bar chart by using 4 data elements and different background colors. So this is static at the moment. Let's start the connection with the SignalR hub to dynamically display this chart in real time. So go back and we'll display 4 different chart types. We'll divide the window into 3 columns. So I will create a new div as row with 3 columns. So we'll create 3 divs. We'll copy this directive in the first column and go back to TypeScript file. I will add a simple style for the column to divide the window into 3 columns. So from the styles array, I will copy this column style with these 2 properties. Let's save it and open the Angular application. Look that we divided the window into 3 columns and displaying this bar type. Now go back to the official documentation and we'll copy again this directive. We'll display 4 charts. So for the first column, I will display a bar chart and a line chart with the same data and options. Let me copy this directive. For the second column, I will display a pipe. And finally, I will display a donut chart. Now it's time to start the connection with the SignalR hub. So go to TypeScript file and we'll inject the SignalR service. So create a new variable called SignalR service. Use the inject function. We'll start the connection in the ng-oninit method. So implement the oninit interface. And from this corresponding method, I will start the connection, so called SignalR service that start. And we'll subscribe to the RxJS subject to receive the data emitted over time. so-called SignalR service that data will subscribe to this subject and will get the data. We'll update the labels and the data. So select data that labels and we'll map the list of candidates to select the name for the labels, and for the first data set we'll replace the data based on the votes, and that's it. Now go back to Visual Studio and run this application. Go back to VS Code, save it, open the command prompt and navigate to the Angular application. Look at that, we had 4 chat types, but something is failing because the chats are not updated in real time. So with Chart.js, we need to manually refresh the chats via an update function. When we are just mutating this data object and not replacing the whole object, so we'll add a reference to the chats in this TypeScript file. So add a new view child decorator of type base chat directive, declare the name, and this will be a new query list, okay, to hold a reference to all the chats that we have in our template of the same type. So we have the reference in this chats property, and when we update the labels and the data, we'll call chats iterate over each chat, and we'll call the update function to refresh the chats. This is not a view child, this is a view children. Okay, so we have multiple chats, save it, go back, and look how the chats are updated in real time. I will stop the application and start again. Let's start again the application. Go back to the Angular application, refresh, and look how the data is displayed in real time because we're connecting to a SignalR hub and we're using Chart.js to display these different chat types with Angular.